The following news flash is brought to you by the Lone Star Lowdown, providing your daily bulletins for the commodities market. Today in history, news updates, and the inside scoop into the tides of the alternative. Markets for Friday, the 18th of March, 2016 are currently trading with gold at $1,255.09 an ounce, silver $15.79 an ounce, Texas crude $40.20 a barrel, and Bitcoin is currently sitting at about 409 U.S. currency. Today in history, the year 1314, Jacques de Molay, the 23rd and last Grand Master of the Knights Templar, is burned at the stake at a scaffold in front of Notre Dame by decree of the cardinals and in conjunction with the Archbishop of Sens and some other prelates who were called in. Templar Grand Masters de Molay and Charnay were slowly burned to death for refusing to recant their heretical beliefs. Today in history. In recent news, Salah Abdeslam, Europe's most wanted man for being suspected of physically partaking in the Paris Islamic State shootings November of last year, was captured today after a shootout in Brussels. This capture finally giving investigators the first suspected active participant to be taken alive. Prosecutors said a second wanted man, who used the false name of Amin Chakouri, was also wounded and captured in the raid. Luckily, French President François Hollande was visiting Brussels for a European summit and was able to personally conduct a joint news conference with the Belgian Prime Minister Charles Michel, where he said that France would request very soon the extradition of Salah Abdeslam. Security services will obviously be seeking information on Islamic State plans and structures, his contacts in Europe and in Syria, and looking into his support and financial networks. Police did obtain Abdesam's fingerprints as well as fake Syrian and Belgian identity documents. Radar scans of King Tut's burial chamber have revealed two hidden compartments. Yesterday at a Cairo news conference, Egyptian Antiquities Minister Mamdouh Al-Damadi declined to comment on whether any royal treasure or more mummies might be inside of the rooms, but did state that the unexplored chambers could hold some kind of organic or metal objects. He also showed the results of the radar scans that revealed anomalies in the walls of the tomb, indicating a possible hidden door and rooms behind false walls that were covered up and painted over with hieroglyphics. The radar scans of the chamber taken last year and analyzed in Japan are set to be repeated at the end of the month for verification. The Lone Star Lowdown is currently looking to fill some ad slots. If you have a product or a service that you would like to advertise with us, feel free to give me a call at 210-363-2257. This has been Rick Rohde with your Lowdown for March 18th, 2016.
Hello, everyone in Austin, Texas, and worldwide. This is Nourishment for the Spiritual Warrior. Here in Austin, Texas, it is Saturday. We're going to be on air from 2 to 4 o'clock here. Dr. Elisa is in Las Vegas, and I believe it is 12 there. So if you're listening in Vegas, we'll be on from 12 to 2. And we have David and Andrew in Australia. So how is everyone doing today?
Great.
Excellent. What time is it in Australia, Andrew?
6 a.m. It's daylight savings time. So, yeah, it's earlier than usual.
Yes, the sun is yet to come up in Australia, in Sydney. And we've been actually at the Australian Poker Championships and been a pretty big crowd, actually, for the events. Andrew played the high roller. And how many players, Andrew?
It got 108 entrants with 3 buys, so I'm not sure how many unique entries, but pretty good turnout.
And Andrew was fortunate enough to make the final table for this one.
Awesome, Andrew. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was a pretty cool experience. Got to make a lot of friends in the Australian poker community and just had a good experience overall.
And today we have the second day of the main event. The main event probably got around 500 players, I think it was.
Yeah, that's true.
And
did you do the final table already, Andrew?
No, it's just the second day. After today, there'll be like probably 20 or so left, is my guess.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'll play one more day. And I must say that the funny thing about playing poker at this level is you can put in 16 hours of work, like 8 hours and 8 hours, and bubble, which for some of the audience that don't know, bubble means like finish just before the money, and you don't get paid. So it's a little bit different from most sports or most activities where you don't have to worry about the getting through all the people to the last few. Ryan, do you want to introduce our guest and tell everyone about our guest?
Oh, absolutely. We have an amazing guest today. So I'm going to go through the full title here, Mr. Liam Stone. I guess you can explain all of it. But with us today, we have Reverend Dr. Liam Sullivan Stone, DD, PhD, Grandmaster Jedi, Internal Arts. So that is quite a long and...
It's definitely entertaining, isn't it?
Can you take us through maybe each of those parts and maybe explain how you achieve those?
Yeah, definitely. But before I say anything, last night I promised Mr. James White, the owner of the legendary Broken Spoke here in Austin, Texas. It's the #1 country and western honky tonk dance hall and restaurant, that I would tell everybody around the world and here in Austin, Texas, to please come and dance there as much as possible. That's one of the ways that I teach internal arts, is get people to go ballroom dancing and swing dancing as a way to get tactical advantages. So
there's kind of like freestyle Tai Chi, right?
Absolutely. right. Absolutely. Tai Chi, Yi Chuan, Bagua. And so it'll take forever, but basically I am a reverend doctor. I've been ordained as a minister since 1996 by various ordination boards. And the DD stands for Doctor of Divinity, and my PhD is in religion. I am also a certified acupuncturist, but not current. So I just teach acupressure, self-administered acupressure. So I'm also a certified acupressure practitioner under the Jijo Institute, which was founded in Hollywood, Florida by Michael Blake. So that's just a little bit of what I do. I've been practicing martial arts, dance, and theater and all that kind of stuff since I was very young, since I was like under 5, I was just 2-3 years old. And I've been teaching martial arts since 1989. And I had created a system called ATX ITAC. Oh, one last thing. I promised my wife, she's sitting next to me right now, Allison Burton. She's also a certified practitioner of a Tai Chi no-stop push hands, which we both are certified by Richard Clear. But the other promise, I have to say this first, and that's she's the co-producer on a World Fest International award-winning show. From 2014, we won the award, or we did it together, New Media Award on a TV show called Candid Travels Texas. And so she wants me to mention that, to have everybody watch it. And all you have to do is just Google it. Google Candid Travels Texas. And it's a show where it's kind of like a cross between Mr. Rogers and Johnny Knoxville's kind of, jackass, with me being the jackass on the show. Except it's, PG. It's designed to have children watch it. I have to edit out any potential profanity. Here in Texas, we curse a lot. So I'll try not to do that here.
That is cool. I actually had Dave and Elisa taught me push hands originally.
Right.
Some of that.
Then you'll love what we have.
Exciting.
Oh, it's a no-stop push hand, which builds internal strength and iron body. It's really neat. And you can do it on into your older years in a way where you're not using any muscular effort. It's completely internal. And Richard Clear, Grandmaster Richard Clear, is the person who in this country certifies everyone to do it and to teach it his way. Nothing wrong with the other kinds of push hand. It's just another way of doing it. And they're all principle based. So, so I have 2 other things I want to talk about. And, but that's the beginning part, is Broken Spoke, go dance there when you're in town in Austin, Texas, and then Candid Travels, Texas. Then we have, you can ask me up the other stuff, right?
Yeah, definitely. You've had some really good martial arts teachers too, right?
Yes. I trained my first martial arts instructor, when I was a small child, was in American Kempo Karate. And he was a student of Benny the Jet Urquidez out of Los Angeles, California.
And he was one of Bruce Lee's students, right?
He was. And then I also studied briefly with Richard Bustillo, who that was later on. I did seminars with him, and he's another one of Bruce Lee's student. Benny the Jet actually is not really Bruce Lee's student. He studied with Bruce, but he was in the line of Ed Parker, the father of American karate. So that's my first style. And then, I have so many that I can list. And then my second one, his name is Dr. Yi Wong. And he's one of the top martial arts instructors that trained in the internal arts, from Taiwan originally. And so I have a very heavy influence in internal arts. I studied Wing Chun as well through various lineages later on. And then my Tai Chi instructor, I claim to be my late godfather, the actor David Carradine, the late actor David Carradine. He taught me the forms of martial arts, which his Tai Chi comes from Dr. Cam Yuen. So I still study with Dr. Cam Yuen on the spiritual side of Kung Fu. Even now, I still study with him. He's still in California, but nowadays we do things non-locally. Like we've got Dave out there in Sydney. and where's your wife? I know she's in the States.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in Las Vegas right now, currently. Right. Yes. For the time.
And I don't know. Yeah, Allison is from where you're from. I mean, you're born in Texas, but I hear you're raised in California.
California, yes.
And so Allison is born in Los Angeles, and I met her there during the 10 years I was there, and she's sitting next to me.
And she went to UCLA too.
Yeah, in Ruin. And I taught martial arts at UCLA.
Oh,
at
wow.
The music department, right. Yeah, until I moved back home to Texas 3 years ago, and now I teach at UT, University of Texas at Austin. So.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
So you were in LA and teaching at UCLA for quite some time.
Well, I was in LA from 2003 until 2013, and I taught at UCLA. I taught at Pan Pacific Park, by CBS Studios. I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That park with the rolling hills. I taught there. I taught a lot of people involved with the film industry, more so than the military. I taught a lot of military type guys outside of LA. And, but in LA it was mostly, and I myself, I don't want to talk about the movie stuff, but I was in movies and TV shows and things like that, so I still am in another one that's supposed to be filmed. They asked me to play Butch Cassidy in a fictionalized, Western, like historical fiction type of the thing. And then I actually played David Gonzalez, American Kempo Karate Master David Gonzalez, in another Hollywood. Since we're talking LA, it's a movie called Bruce the Challenge. Mm-hmm. It's a docudrama about an American Kempo Karate master whose student challenged the Bruce Lee, the film actor, to a sanctioned bout in the ring between 1961 and 1971 while he was living in LA. And it's actors are chosen to play historical people because they're old now, right? But Bruce is going to be playing himself because there's footage shot for him for that particular film that's not released yet. So that movie's done, but we haven't seen it yet. We even went to the premiere and we didn't get to watch the movie. It's insane, but so that's the most recent two movies that I'm in Hollywood wise. But I'm really more interested. I have a film called Venice Nights, which was done in Hollywood, but a Texan made Hollywood film, me being the Texan. And it's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid reincarnated as surfing instructors. And tagline for the movie is miracles happen every day, whether you are a hero or a zero. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, and so Ryan is planning on screening it at the Austin.
Yeah, that week we have the Austin Universe Festival. Right. Yeah, we'll definitely have time.
Right, we've screened it twice, big time. It was at Sundance. It had a really good reception in Berlin, Germany. I didn't go there. None of the crew went, but the film went there with a friend who had the film at the Tromenau Film. It's the worst movie ever made. It was made crappy on purpose, kind of as a message to the current mainstream media of how everything's all glossy and perfect.
Yeah,
we did it really poorly on purpose, but the storyline is really genius, and the acting is hilarious. It's very good acting. The performances are good, and there's a couple of name talent in it, but I tried to keep most of the actors. We cast them based upon chemistry and on their raw skill sets as gifted actors. So I didn't want, so it's a great movie. It's I have not seen a movie better than this, and it's not because I made it. And my wife actually wasn't with me back when we made the movie, and she likes it. Is she going to chime in? I don't know if Allison's hooked up to the mic or not.
Yeah, we can get her in here. We're going to be coming up to our first break here, so everyone stay tuned. We're going to have more with Liam Stone, everyone else in Vegas and Australia here after the break. Stay tuned.
This is the Logos Radio Network.
Hello and welcome, everyone. This is David Burke from Sydney, Australia, Coogee Beach, with Andrew Lucky Chewy Lichtenberger. We are at the Australian Poker Championship, and overseas we are joined by Dr. Elisa Wampole in Las Vegas and Ryan Mutzel and our guest
Liam Stone
in Texas. And Liam has, on the break, been practicing an instrument. For everyone who doesn't know, there's an instrument called a didgeridoo in Australia, which kind of looks like a long pipe made of wood. Liam, how did you learn to play the didgeridoo in Austin, Texas?
Well, I actually have always known how to play. I don't know why. It's just one of those genetic things. I have Australian ancestry. I'm a Texan with Australian ancestry, so I figured it must be genetic or something. So I've played mostly in Los Angeles, and I've actually played all around the world. If you Google Liam Stone didgeridoo, I'm actually Dr. Liam Stone. It's just because I did movies and stuff, I dropped the title. But I'm trying to go back to being like Dr. Elisa, to like use my actual title that I've had for
Dr. Liam.
It's Dr. Liam's didgeridoo. Okay.
All right.
So you want to hear it right now? You want to hear it? You want to hear it?
Sure.
Oh,
Yes.
I got to talk with a Western Australian dialect right now and sound like somebody from Perth. I know it probably sounds fake to Dave because you're an actual Aussie. All right, here we go.
Wow.
Wow, that's pretty good,
pretty
Dr. Liam.
How's that?
And
Was that a little too loud?
no, it was good. And I know the didgeridoo, it's a little bit different to most instruments. There's a particular breathing technique
Right.
you have to work on. Do you want to explain to our audiences a little bit about the breathing technique?
Okay. What the didgeridoo? I love the didgeridoo because it gets a person to circular breathe, and what that means is while I'm breathing air out of my body, I'm simultaneously breathing air in, and it's an extremely, extremely healthy and strengthening thing to do. There are people who've had serious, challenging life conditions, whatever they may be. It could be anything. It could be an injury. It could anything, like incurable situation. All right, seemingly incurable situation. And they started playing the Australian didgeridoo and didgeridooing with the circular breathing, and their problems have resolved. So this is one of the things I've created a system of practice. I don't want to call it a martial art, although it's devastating in terms of tactical defense. But it's more like what Ryan and I are all about: living a happy, healthy life. And I incorporate everything. It's called the ATX, Internal Tactical Arts Collective. And I have had a consulting firm for high-level people since 1997. And it's a collective of things, of everything. However, it's based upon simple principles. So playing the didgeridoo would be one of them. Ballroom dancing, partner dancing would be one of them. For several reasons. Like, it's cool to go to a nightclub and just dance by yourself. It's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But I highly recommend doing partner dancing because you have to feel another human being's body and you have to move with them. It's a sensitivity training similar to push hands or chi sao in Wing Chun, or in many cases when an acupuncturist, I know Dr. Alyssa, you are an acupuncturist, right?
Yes.
I think one of you're a gifted acupuncturist because of that interaction you have directly with that patient. Okay. And that's something that was lost in my opinion, the Western modalities.
Yes.
Now, when I play the didgeridoo, I'm always engaging either 300 people in a room. By the way, if you Google Liam Stone didgeridoo, there's little clips of me performing on stage in Hollywood. And then I performed once here in Austin, Texas at House Wine down the street from where we are now. But you're engaging, like right now, we're talking to people. We're talking to each other. We are answering questions. Anybody wants to ask us anything, And it's that engagement, that relationship we have with others, and that I think is going to solve problems. And I don't even want to go into like the diagnostic model of saying I identified a disease and then I'm going to cure the disease. My focus with ATX ITAC is solving problems and strengthening all aspects of a person. So that's the focus: strengthening all aspects of a person and solving your problems, answering all questions, having no questions.
Yeah. Actually, there's a book I really love. Actually, David loves it too. I think the title is called The Butterfly Taoist. But basically, it's about this guy who goes to study Taoism in ancient Taoism in China, and they're saying that in order to be an amazing martial artist, you need to practice all these different modalities: music, painting, poetry, calligraphy, and it kind of reminds me, and I really, that's kind of my philosophy too on life.
Amen.
Is have to do all of these things to become the best person.
Amen.
You're a martial artist or whatever. You know what I'm saying, Kim?
Absolutely, Dr. Lissa. You are a Renaissance woman. Ryan is a Renaissance man. Your husband's a Renaissance man. My wife is a Renaissance woman. I'm a Renaissance man. And I agree 100%. And it seems, okay, like in the old days, like I'm sorry, when I say old days, I don't mean old, but like in the 60s and the 70s, there's this trend in martial arts about, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Well, that might be true, but maybe not. Maybe a curvature or a spiral, because it may be more efficient to do it. It's not so simplifying doesn't mean emptying your brain. It's having structure and principles which allow you to collect as much as you want, but you have principles that you are standing on. Like as a acupuncture physician, Dr. Lissa, you have specific principles you go by, right?
Of course.
You have to, yeah. But you have patients. Every patient is different. And so what works for patient A, or instead of being all scientific, I'll say, hey, Jack, my friend Jack. Our friend Jack is going to be different than our friend Jill. And you're not going to treat Jack and Jill the same way. And so that's what ATX ITAC is. And I'm really proud of it. And I wanted to let everyone know that I have a brand new resource online that's absolutely no cost for all of my students all around the world. I have students. I've been teaching since '89. It's a long time. So I have students all around the world. And since I can't physically be with them all the time, I have a new resource for all my students, as well as any friends or anyone in the public, where I collect world-class instructors and resources, and I put them all on there, and I'm the one curating it. And it's all based upon the ATX ITAC principle, or ATX Internal Tactical Arts Collective principle. And that's at facebook.com/ATX Internal Tactical Arts. And if you Google ATX ITAC, it might even come up. So please click like on it. Give us a 5-star rating. But it's a lot of fun. There'll be entertaining stuff like me riding a kiddie train with Allison in Herman Park in Houston, Texas, which shows that it's like being childlike. I'm riding a train that I rode when I was a child. This train's been around for 50 years. It's the same little train I rode at the Houston Zoo in Herman Park when I was growing up. And I'm going back there as an old man. Well, I don't know. I say I'm an old man. I think but I feel young. I'm an old man. That's young. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And also the whole point of acupuncture and Tai Chi and internal arts is about preserving your heart, your lungs, and this.
Very true. We're going to a quick break here, Liam. So more with Liam Stone here after the break.
Thanks.
Having trouble breathing? You might want to reach for a bitter-tasting substance like grapefruit peel and take a big whiff. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht, and in a moment I'll tell you how bitter foods could be traditional inhalers for opening blocked air passages.
Privacy is under attack. When you give up data about yourself, you'll never get it back again. And once your privacy is gone, you'll find your freedoms will start to vanish too. So protect your rights, say no to surveillance, and keep your information to yourself. Privacy, it's worth hanging on to. This public service announcement is brought to you by StartPage.com, the private search engine alternative to Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Start over with StartPage.
Bitter foods may soon give pharmaceutical inhalers a run for their money. Researchers have found that inhaling bitter substances opens bronchial airways better than any known asthma medication on the market. Apparently, the bitter taste receptors we have on our tongues are also present in our lungs. If something tastes bitter in your mouth, the receptors in your lungs will pick up the bitter scent molecules too. The lungs react by opening up the airways. Scientists are experimenting with aerosols made of bitter substances like quinine, the ingredient that gives tonic water its bite. They believe this could help bring relief to millions of people suffering with bronchitis, emphysema, and asthma. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht. More news and information at CatherineAlbrecht.com.
You're listening to the Logos Radio Network at logosradionetwork.com.
Hello, welcome back to the show. This is Dr. Lisa, and we're all speaking with Dr. Liam Stone, and we've been speaking a little bit about internal arts, external martial arts versus internal martial arts. That was going to be my question to Dr. Liam, because I'm sure a lot of our listeners are curious, and we just talk about these things sometimes and we don't really give a background. So, Dr. Liam, can you please explain what are the internal arts?
I would be happy to. And Dr. Alyssa, obviously, you already know this, but I'm going to try to explain it in as simple terms as possible, and help me out if it's getting to sound too complicated. Okay. So basically what we have are external arts, which would mean you use your muscles and your bones, okay, with weight bearing. You're trying to strengthen just the muscle and the bone. External, you're going grrr, like that, a grrr type of a feeling, right? You're using force against force in many cases. It's an external strengthening. So bodybuilding would be an external martial art. Mm-hmm. Boxing is an external martial art. For the most part, and I'm not going to, people get pissed at me if I say this, but I would say the majority of the MMA athletes today I would classify them in external martial arts. Okay?
Absolutely.
Now, an internal art doesn't involve the training of the muscle and the bone and even the tendons or the ligaments. The internal martial art trains the brain, the spinal cord, the central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system. It exercises and makes more efficient and makes more youthful the heart, the stomach, the internal organs. And it doesn't use that grr. It's not grueling. Okay. So that's the difference between external and internal. Both are good. I'm not saying one is better than the other. They're both good. And ultimately, when a person becomes proficient at either one, they're going to have capabilities, natural capabilities of both. Now, internal arts would be the three main internal arts, which I have studied them since I was a small child, would be Yi Chuan or Xin Yi Chuan. That's one. And two would be Tai Chi Chuan, which everybody's heard of that, Tai Chi, right? Mm-hmm. And the third one would be called Bagua Chuan or Bagua, where you walk around in a circle and you can defend against multiple attackers like unarmed. So those are the three like martial arts that you would say are internal arts. So ATX ITAX is comprised primarily from the forms and techniques of those three arts. No, it's not Tai Chi, definitely not. So Silat from Indonesia has a lot of that kind of internal aspect. So does Hakka Kyun or Hakka Fist. Hakka's a minority group. They're like the Jews of Asia, okay? And they have this martial art that looks external, but in reality, it's very internal and it's devastating. So an external martial art would be like karate, Japanese karate.
Or like a Muay Thai.
Muay Thai, right, which is the Thai boxing. Some of the hard style kung fu, where, you're standing in a horse stance for hours and hours and you're sweating. And if you're if you're over the age of 35, you're going to be injured, So the reason why I'm focusing on the internal arts here in our great state of Texas and also in the United States is because I think in our culture here in the West, we tend to ignore the internal parts. We're always about how good do our abs look and, hey, am I bald or not? I need to get my hair back. Or, it's a very externalized way of thinking, which is great because we are handsome and beautiful looking people. And I got abs, okay, myself. But the approach by which I'm getting abs, 6-pack abs, is not external. It's internal. Yeah. And also here in Texas, our primary martial art here in our great state, and I call country of Texas, or the Republic of Texas, is called firearms. Okay? Guns, pistols, rifles. And the thing is, you have to have extremely good internal skill to be accurate and calm when you're using that as a martial art. You have to be very aware. Sort of like if you're piloting an aircraft. You cannot have that grr. Grr would be like the Incredible Hulk. You guys, I'm using Marvel. External martial art would be like the Incredible Hulk or Thor. You mortals are so petty. That's my friend Chris Hemsworth playing Thor. So that's a muscle. That's external martial art. Very powerful. An internal art would be like Professor X or Magneto. Those type of heroes where they use something internal. You can still have muscles and look great. But I'm just saying, why not do the internal stuff so you can last hopefully longer than if you didn't do those things? So like Grandmaster Richard Clear, he's a public figure. He's internationally known. He's the person who certified us in the no style push hand certification games. And so he's 52 years old. If you look at him, he looks much younger physically, and he's not. He's a good old American looking guy with, he's like Ryan's coloration, because they say blondes like wrinkle faster. He's the blonde. Okay. Like Ryan. Ryan looks great,
Yeah.
And so you can look at the results of an internal system. He's an internal artist, and he's I highly recommend him. He is one of the featured instructors on my ATX ITAC resource. So you'll get free lessons from him. What you see me do pretty much is take you on little trips in Texas. You might see a little bit of me doing internal Wing Chun wooden dummy. So Wing Chun is like Bruce Lee style. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's very popular now worldwide with the Yip Man movies. Now, Yip Man is the teacher of my grandmaster of Wing Chun. So I am trained in Wing Chun. I'm certified as well. But Wing Chun at the beginning stages is still, I would consider external, because you're hitting that wood hard. And so there's a way of hitting wood in a way where you're not using your muscle, but you can zap that wood. In fact, if you go to the ATX site, and Allison's sitting next to me right here, so I just remembered, there's a video of her doing a gentle slap onto a pine wood and snapping it without any effort. We could call it the Tai Chi death touch, but she's not going chai, or she's just gently holding the board in one hand and just gently slapping it with her right palm, and the thing snaps. And that's what ATX ITAC is about. And there's like 20-second video of you doing it for the first time. I taught her to do it like in like a week or more or less. I think how long did it take for you to learn?
About a week. Lots of ow, and then eventually
she calmed down. Yeah. And she's like, oh, this is cake. It's like clicking a mouse on your computer on your mouth pad. It's extremely easy, and you're not using a lot of effort. The destruction is absolute. And so when I myself practice on the wooden dummy, which is, that it looks like a pole, like a coat hanger, and you're punching wood and stuff. I do it that way. So visually on the outside, I look like another person practicing Wing Chun Kung Fu. But in reality, it's what's going on inside of me. I'm putting a tremendous amount of damage inside that trunk of that tree. If it was a human, you couldn't do that. If it was a bag, like those heavy bags, the bag would probably burst. So that's why I have to use like a wooden. If it was a regular tree, that trunk would have split. But the wooden dummy I have is like a pole, like a telephone pole made of plywood. So there's several pieces put together in a way so it's virtually impossible to break. Now, you could do it to metal and it won't hurt your hand. You can hit metal properly. When you hit something properly, it won't hit your hand. And Iron Vest Kung Fu. In fact, Ryan practices that. So he knows what I'm talking about. Ryan, is it okay if I tell him, or is that a secret?
Yeah.
So, oops, sorry.
That's all good. I mean, Dave's the one who taught me all that.
So Iron Body Kung Fu, in my opinion, is actually kind of like an external to internal system. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
kind of condensing the chi essentially.
Exactly
right.
Yeah. So I met him when we were running the track at Gregory Gym at UT campus, and I said, "You're doing Iron Body Kung Fu," and it's like, how many guys here at UT, at University of Texas, are doing that? And then we immediately like, wow,
very true. We'll hear more. We're coming to a break. More after the break with Liam Stone.
Descends to the earth, a time where the mind is defined and confined. We the people need to realign with the divine. A government for the people, by the people realigns. No more taxation without representation. It's time for the people to have their say, no longer the prey. Aligned with truth, there's nothing we cannot do. Divide and conquer lies and false promises. These are the archonic weapons of hurtful decay. The abundance of the earth is the perfect technology, and the golden age is now. Rise together as one in peace and prosperity. Are hacking the bio-internet, and the false light is blinding. Plugging into intuition, balance is restored. Drawing from love, fighting for freedom and liberty keeps the unity in the community.
Hello, this is Dr. Lisa. Welcome back to the show. I am a doctor of Oriental medicine, in case anyone was wondering. And just on top of that, this discussion we've been having about the internal arts, I just wanted to add from a Chinese medical perspective, we all have, according to Chinese medicine, a system of energy lines or meridians. We call them meridians in the body, and this is where all the acupuncture points are in the body. And we call this energy that flows through the meridians qi. You can spell it Qi, or as in Tai Chi, you can spell it Chi. But either way, we're talking about the same thing. And there's, of course, lots of different systems that it's Ki, Ki in Japan, prana in the yoga systems. There's also another name, bioenergy. But we all have this energy coursing through our body. And Dr. Liam had mentioned too, I think it has a lot to do with the nervous system. And because, there's this energy, these synapses, these gaps between the neurons where this energy jumps through to make connections. So I feel like it's very much connected to the breath and relaxation. And I guess that's really, for me, what's so incredible about the internal art of Tai Chi is that it teaches you how to get in touch with this energetic flow in your body so that you can actually build up your energy or move the energy to where you want it. And which is why it's such an incredible healing art, because if you can build up your body energy, the energy in your body, then you can utilize that for either destruction or healing.
Absolutely.
Would you agree with that, Dr. Liam?
Absolutely. I agree with all of it. I also tend to agree that this bioenergy, what we're talking about, is connected somehow in a big way as we're observing it with the central and the peripheral nervous system. I believe also that this bioenergy is connected to the electromagnetic spectrum, and it's connected to like cell phone messages that flow through the air. The meridians that you talk about definitely exist. And the reason I will agree with you, and I'm going to provide a reason to all the listeners around the world why this is real. When my dog got sick, Bella, the movie dog, okay, she lived to 14, pretty good long life for a big dog. And you can Google her, Bella, the movie dog. She's on our show. Aww. She passed away recently. It was so sad. Anyway, I used acupuncture needle on a specific point, and her fever went down. So it exists. It is physical. And the meridians, I think, also coordinate to the Sanskrit writings of the various chakras or energy vortexes along the body. It works. I did this to my pet Australian. I have a pet Australian bearded dragon, a lizard. Okay, his name is Sean Draco Connery Stone. That's
Draco.
Yeah, that's how. Because he looks like the character from Dragonheart, played by Sean Connery. He really, it's an Australian bearded dragon. And he was sick one time, and I used acupressure. I mean, in fact, he was dead. Okay, there was no heartbeat, no pulse, and I used this form of. I didn't use a needle on him. He's small at the time. I used acupressure, and as a result, he's alive now, and he's eating broccoli now instead of just crickets. So he's older now.
A vegan vegetarian diet.
Yeah, exactly right. He's now eating broccoli instead of any meat now. So, so my point is, it exists because we can do it on animals. Animals don't know about chi or the belief, and I think bioenergy is what we would say, what we would label it, I think, in English. But it's not just. I think it involves electricity as well, because if you look at here's another example. Like, I guess I'm trying to be funny here, but you notice some men and women, they may not be like physically, photogenically very, very beautiful like you and your husband, Dr. Elisa or Brian, but they just seem to be very attractive to the opposite gender. Yeah. They get lots of lovers and boyfriends and girlfriends, and they never have a problem getting a date. But you're looking at take a picture of them, they're like, oh boy. That's all you could say without being, insulting. I think that it could be their bioenergy. They have a really efficient bioenergy. Also,
David actually has a good story about that. David, do you remember, can you tell your story about how you guys put all the energy out and attracted all these people to you? Can you tell that on the show? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Just a small, I guess, experiment that Andrew and myself were doing just for fun. Andrew and I were doing some Qigong, and then we began to project the energy of healing all around us, and there was no one around us at the time, and we were just experimenting with people's sensitivity, and people can try this themselves who are practitioners of Qigong with their friends, and through putting and expanding the feeling of healing energy and positive vibration, we end up having about 30 or 40 people around us then people all started dancing and jumping around and even started grabbing us when they're going past. And then we imagined that there was like gold and money were swirling around, and everyone started just jumping around crazy. And maybe it was just a mystery, like, or maybe the Qigong had an effect, and that type of intention, visualization, because everything's a signal, and communicating the signal to people on a biofrequency that their sixth sense may interpret, may have allowed that to happen. Something interesting, I was talking to a friend that grew up in China and Australia, that's out here for school, and I asked them, why is it in China that people have tended to continue to learn Tai Chi and do Qigong and Chinese medicine over, possibly 1,000 years? And he said, well, it works. And that's why the only reason that it exists is because it works. And he said, in China, China's not interested in proving to the West or any other country that meridians exist or energy healing exists or any of these things. Because it's, for them, he used the analogy, it's like asking a human how breathing works. Because for their civilization, they've gone through all these years of trying whatever would give them health. And back in the day, Chinese doctors, they're only paid if you were healthy. They weren't paid if you were sick. So their incentive was only to give you things each day which made you healthy, because then, of course, they could get paid. And this may be one of the reasons why a system of this level and quality of longevity of health, which takes a small amount of practice each day just to get basics, you can incorporate into your lifestyle, became so popular. And it's kind of interesting too, like my friends from Asia that are a little bit more advanced in cultivation practices or even as a doctor of Chinese medicine, they're not really interested either in sharing their techniques. In China, it's more of a hidden thing where you only teach your inner family. I spoke to a girl from China yesterday, actually, at About Life. It's an organic restaurant in Sydney on Bondi Junction, and they have about 80% of all their food is local organic farms. And she was explaining it in China, like to learn Tai Chi or to learn Qigong, you have to be basically born into a family that already knows about that. It's very hard, and it's very hard to the really good teachers to teach a lot of students, because it takes so much work to teach a student the correct basics, the fundamentals.
Yeah.
But there's a great YouTube people can watch. This was financed by the Rockefeller Foundation, and it has a Harvard doctor sent about 20 years ago to China. And you can just type into your Google search Qigong master projecting his Qi energy, and it shows a Harvard-trained doctor in China researching about Chinese medicine and researching about Qigong, and showing an old master in that video having very unusual energetic abilities, and also the incredible healing abilities of Chinese medicine.
Wow, that's amazing. That's absolutely true, Dave, about the fact that many of these practices are family kept secrets. You either have to be born into the family or you have to be adopted into the family. And here's the good news. I got some of that stuff. And that's why I'm offering it, and I'm teaching it in a way through ATS ITAC. And it's not like what you were saying. It's not simple in that, it's a formula. You know how like we like to do chemicals and stuff. It's kind of like a long-term relationship. And that's why it is a family type thing. You have to have a long-term relationship with the individuals. And that's what I try to create. And I've done it. I've created that kind of an experience on the Facebook page of ATX ITAC. It's whatever is relevant to that I like, I'll put on there. It could be entertainment, but it's all related to this increasing the bioenergy and also tactical defense. So I know people are like, guns are no good, but you can be a responsible gun person,
Very true, very true.
Yeah,
We're coming up to our main break here at the hour, so stay tuned. More with Dr. Liam Stone here on Nourishment for the Spiritual Warrior.
War is coming.
Hello, this is David Burr coming live from Sydney, Australia, Coogee Beach. I'm here with Dr. Elisa Wampole in Las Vegas, Dr. Liam in Austin, Texas with Ryan Mutzel. And just earlier we were talking a little bit about Tai Chi Qigong. And for those who would like to begin getting a little bit of awareness, you can type into any Google search Qigong Masters and you'll see some little fun demonstrations. Dr. Liam has been opening the door for people who would like to learn about Qigong. Dr. Lisa, you taught the Qigong classes at the Graduate Chinese Medical College, and it was a lot of fun. Lisa and I got to teach that one together, and it was actually really great. Some of the students were from Korea, and they were so excited that we didn't hold back with teaching them. There's in some of the Asian countries, the students aren't taught a lot of the different types of nuances in Tai Chi and Qigong because it's more held for your inner circle students. So I think, at least they were very surprised and they were very appreciative that we didn't hold back with teaching them.
Yeah, I agree. And it's hard to teach, I think. It's hard to really teach an internal art because how do you teach about something that's going on inside? It's one of these things where you have to be very creative in how you convey to someone what it is that you want them to do, because in a way it's not measurable. It's internal. It's we're talking about bioenergy, and it is kind of how you measure that. But if you have someone that can teach you with creativity and with a knowledge, because if you really can't do the internal art yourself, it's definitely hard to practice it. And I've seen people do Qigong before that, and they don't, there's something missing. You have to kind of have that internal spark. But once you've got that, you can kind of help convey how do you really master this internal art. So it's one of these things that's hard to convey, but if you find a good teacher, it's incredible. And a lot of it's just practice and every day doing it.
And you have a black sash in Tai Chi, right, Elisa?
Yes, yeah.
But of course.
I started studying Tai Chi in 1997 or 1998. Wow, and I taught classes for many years, probably like 5 or 6, 7 years in LA. And you just learn by practice, that's
right.
But it's really cool once you can convey it to someone and they get it. It's just such an amazing thing. But Dr. Liam, how would you explain how do you teach people the internal arts? And I know you also wanted to finish up something about guns.
Right. Okay.
I'll let you talk
Perfect.
about that.
I loved what you both shared. And first of all, it is true in the past, they teach like inner circle and teachers will hold back. I learned from some of those type of instructors.
Why do you think they hold back, Liam? What's the reason for that?
They don't, because the stuff can be devastating. Okay. It's the reality. The real Qigong or internal practices, like how you can save your own life from death from serious problems, that power can be turned around and you can non-locally hurt or kill someone.
Yeah.
That's one reason why. Okay. It's a very real reason. It's sort of like, why do I not just give a gun to anyone? And that's why I was relating to guns. So one is I don't hold back. And part of the reason, because I do believe in God Almighty. And I believe God is the ultimate vindicator, and vengeance is his, says the Lord. So I'm not God. So I trust God to give me the wisdom that if there's red flags, I may not teach. But for the most part, the people that come to me, who come to my webpage, they're good people. They're not going to, criminals aren't going to come to my page. And if they do, here's the cool thing about ATXI Tech. It won't work for them. So that's why I can teach freely. And in order, as you know, you're both very advanced. Okay, you said you can't really quantify the Tai Chi, internal arts or Tai Chi or anything like that. Sort of true. Okay, yes, in a way, I agree with you. If you are a weightlifter, you can see how many pounds I'm lifting. How far am I hitting the ball, right? It's very easy. Now, in internal arts, in terms of the condition of your internal organs and all that, it's a little bit harder to gauge. Okay, so although that's true, I disagree. You know how you can gauge it? For example, Dr. Alyssa and Dave and Ryan, you guys have pretty good bioenergy. I can tell by the quality of your voice that, how you sound and feel to me right now. That's one. So it's quantifiable by that. Two, you can also, like we're talking about guns. And once again, I'm a firm believer that we cannot disarm our public, the good people, because if you disarm good people, the only people who are going to have guns are criminals who don't obey the law. So I just have to say that. And I'm a big advocate of responsible firearm ownership. I'm also a big advocate of getting as many people to learn how to pilot an aircraft. Because to me, when you're operating a firearm, It's no different than driving a semi, a big truck, or flying an airplane. It requires the same kind of skill. Now, if a person has good internal technique, it is quantifiable. You're going to fire much, much better at a target while in motion. You'll be more proficient with this type of thing. You'll be a better airline pilot. You'll be a better shooter at the range. And so that's how I would say you would quantify.
How about Kirlian photography too?
Absolutely. That's another way. If you have a person, you can see their aura through Kirlian photography. And some people can get to the level where they can expand it and they can make it smaller and then can even change the colors of it. So for some of the viewers that aren't aware of it, the colors mean certain emotions. So if it's like green, it may mean one emotion, red meaning another emotion. And the size of the aura, which is like a cloud. On the photograph, it looks like a cloud, a colored cloud that radiates beyond your body. So that's why I don't believe bioenergy chi is just in the central nervous system. It exists outside of it. And
Definitely.
That's a great example, Ryan, that using Kirlian, these things, we call them Aura, A-U-R-A photos. And you can use that as well to quantify it. But I think you don't even need that. Like when I'm looking into Ryan's eyes right now, they're glistening. He's doing good. At this very moment, and my wife is laughing, I'm having a good time. At this moment, our bioenergy is good. And so anyway, so that's what I wanted to encourage. Also, it's not just a lot of practice. And this is where the ATX iTech system explains that. It's the level of connection of the relationship you have with your teacher and with your fellow sojourners. Like we're all 5 of us right now are kind of joining together, and we're all on a similar path of, building this bioenergy. And that in itself, the long-term relationships is more important, in my opinion, and the entertainment aspect of it. That's why ATX iTech is fun. It's not grueling. It's not boring. You have so much to choose from just from that webpage of facebook.com/ATX Internal Tactical Arts. It's a really, you see weird, entertaining things. There's a dinosaur going through American Ninja obstacle course. There's just all kinds of different things. And that's how I think people get stronger. It's that relationship, because there are people who you don't see them practice very much, but they have a tremendous amount of talent. It's sort of like you'll see some people live really poor health practices, like what we would consider really poor health practices. They're always smoking cigarettes or whatever, and yet they don't get sick, and they'll live a long time. And then you'll have somebody who constantly is watching everything they eat. They may not drink alcohol or whatever, and then they may have a premature demise. They die early. So there's something beyond just the physical. I'm convinced of that. And so I think, while yes, it's not quantifiable in a scientific realm, it can be assessed and profiled with other means. And so, I saw your book. Your book is fantastic, by the way. And I got to say, I love the Burke products. I started using them recently. Mm-hmm. Definitely going to use that. And then I have a business charity with Chuck Norris, and I use those on a daily basis. And then I combine it. Like I'll mix the Burke cordyceps powder with maca with the Australian chia seeds. And I just take a scoop of that and chug it down with water, and that's my breakfast.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. And then when I get sick, I would just take pure cordyceps. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Does that answer your question? Sort of? Like, how do you learn internal arts? It's through a relationship.
I was going to say, if anyone wants to get those products, the Burke Superfoods products are available here at Brave New Books. And if you responsibly open carry a firearm, you get a 10% discount.
Yay.
So that's always good as well. Responsible open carry and superfood supplements to increase your chi.
Always remember to keep the barrel pointed away from people. Always assume that it is loaded. That's it. That's my 2 cents.
Dr. Lima, I have a question. Can you tell us a little bit more about the project you do with Chuck Norris?
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, cool. Chuck Norris, along with the elder George Bush, George H.W. Bush, W's daddy, the former President Bush, started a program in Texas called Kickstart Kids. And what that is in inner cities in Texas, like in Houston or Dallas, a lot of the children in the inner cities who are like junior high age, we're talking children. They're like 6th grade, 7th grade, 11, 12, 13-year-old kids. Some of them are high risk, meaning they have older brothers or their parents are involved with mafia and gangs and inner city gangs. So most of these connections and recruitments happen during the PE or physical education classes in the public junior high schools. And so there was a project called Kickstart Kids where, they would profile. They know which kids are probably going to end up becoming murderers and go into a life of crime. And they would get them to sign a document saying they would cut all potential gang ties. And instead of going to their regular PE class, which is boring, they will pay for and hire a professional martial arts instructor to come in during that hour and teach them during school. It's not after school. So it's called the Kickstart Kids charity, which is a part of Top Kick Productions, which is Chuck's company. My company is called Lovingly Stone Productions, which means you can get the same results of taking drugs when you don't need to through film and entertainment and martial arts. And so I decided to join Chuck Norris after meeting him through Governor Abbott of Texas at the Texas National Prayer Breakfast. And I had been asked to join, but I didn't know if it was really Chuck doing it. And so we have it's a charity business called Max.com.
All right, we're coming up to a break, Liam. More about the Chuck Norris business here after the break.
You are listening to the Logos Radio Network. The LogosRadioNetwork.com.
Hi, welcome back to the show. So we've been talking about the Kickstart program, correct, Dr. Liam? And
that's correct.
Tell me what it is again, real quick.
The Kickstart Kids program, real quick, and Chuck Norris and the former President Bush started the program. It's been around for 40 years, and just in a nutshell, it's been very successful. We've had several of these kids go to college and become professionals instead of being in gangs and being killed young. And basically, we have martial arts instructors go into the public schools in junior high. We get them before they get to high school, and then change their lives for the better. And so that's a really great program. And Chuck started to do a business called at max.com/575625. It's a multi-level marketing company that sells a product. It's a natural product that increases glutathione. And if we talk about she as doctors, you and I, Dr. Elisa, we can go forever on like what is glutathione, and it's probably connected to bioenergy. But it's anyway, it reverses aging, increases healing of injuries and all that kind of stuff. So I take it. Alice and I have been taking it pretty much every day for 8 months? How many months?
Almost a year.
Almost a year, yeah. And we've been seeing amazing results. But the cool thing is when I buy products from my own business, or we sign people up to buy products, the proceeds will go to Kickstart Kids charity. And so it was after I asked Chuck Norris face to face, and I told him, yeah, my late godfather was David Carradine, who he worked with on Lone Wolf McQuade, and my late uncle, Ali Silva, is also friends with him. And he's like, oh, hi. He actually came over and talked to me first. It was really wild. He just walked over. And Alice was like, don't talk to him. And he walked over to me. I was like, oh, wow, Chuck's Mr. Norris. And I asked him, I said, there's somebody from your team asking me to join this business. Is that really you? And he was like, oh, Max products. Yeah, they're great. And then so we joined after we made sure it was really him. So the ID number that I gave you is coded to Mr. Norris's charity and then our company and our charities. That's 575625. 575 max, max.com /575-625. And some people do it to make money, but ours is more going toward charity,
Well, I have to say, for kids, martial arts, I think it's one of the best things. And I know there's been,
absolutely,
because I've been doing martial arts for a while, and I've known some martial arts instructors who have been teaching kids, for probably 30 or 40 years, one gentleman up in the Bay Area. And my first martial arts teacher trained with him when he was a kid. And basically, I mean, these kids, their grades improve, and right. they learn how to be respectful, and they learn how to just stand still and listen. And not only that, I think with the gang thing, it seems that it gives them that empowerment and that sense of power that they're looking for. But then with the martial arts and the training, it teaches them to contain it and be respectful. And so to me, it's like one of the best things you can do for a kid that might be interested to go into gangs, because it just gives them that what they're looking for without having to be violent.
Absolutely. In fact, I took martial arts since I was very young, and I grew up my earlier part of the childhood, not in the best part of Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
And because I was in martial arts training since I was young, I did not end up in that type of a thing with gangs, and I have an understanding of ethics, and I have a much better capability of delay of gratification than the average person. So, you know, I think it's fantastic. I think there is an element to martial arts that's physical, yet it's spiritual as well. And we're all spiritual warriors getting nourishment here with each other. And that's the interesting part. And some kids are just not ready to go to church. I'm a minister, but my calling has been to be so far not within a church setting. And you'll see me, I'm a movie actor. You know, it's ridiculous. No one would guess that I am a reverend doctor, because when Ryan met me, I was like, I'm Liam Stone. And now it's like, I'm sure it's hard because you met me as Dr. Liam Sullivan Stone, or I also have an alternate name, which is Dr. William Xiao Liu. That's my martial arts, the Chinese name. So I have two names that I use, but Ryan met me as Liam Stone. And so that's why I know you don't say doctor, but it's cool, man. I don't want you to call me doctor. We're friends. But I would not have ended up where I am, where I love studying, where I'm always wanting to learn more. It's this curiosity about knowledge, a delay of gratification, a focus of knowledge and love and wanting to make everything better for myself and everyone around me, rather than just and delaying my personal gratification for these things, rather than I want what I want. And I think martial arts teaches children that. Yeah. Sports too. But I think there is a spiritual aspect to martial art that does not exist in, let's say, playing football or you know.
Very true. Something that I think martial arts does really help young people understand is intelligence and wisdom over power and force. So for a lot of people that watch mainstream mixed martial arts, such as the UFC, right, you'll know statistically most of the fights finish through a submission. So the submission is either an arm bar or a leg bar or a guillotine, and basically you only need to put about 5 to 10 pounds of pressure on a joint, and that joint, in the correct way you put pressure on it, could put as much pressure as it would take to tear off the lug nuts of a NASCAR. And that was done in a Fight Science, I believe it was Discovery Channel.
Right, I saw that episode. It was fantastic.
Is that the one with Frank Mir? I think they had doing with the pressure. Yeah,
I saw that. And that's what ATX HITEX is about. That's my system. It's using the least amount of effort for the maximum efficiency. Yeah.
And you begin to see how when you have a large group of people come together like a gang, they're coming together because they have a certain motivation. They have a certain either a fear or they have a need to fulfill something. And people begin thinking that, oh, you know, I'm the high school bully. There's 3 of us who are able to push around the small kid, and then they leave, they go to college, and then, you know, they get pushed around by the college bully, and then you leave college, and then you might get pushed around by the political bully. And, and then it just keeps going on. But when you look at the resolve of these things, that it's in high school that the kids that were diligent, that had a unique perspective on wanting to seek out knowledge, they really enjoy, whether it's learning themselves after high school or going to a college and being able to fulfill that need. And then they end up having a lot of times a more prosperous life. And then people who finish at college or pursuing a particular thing they want to learn about, and they really understand that, they become very wise and become almost stewards of that aspect of consciousness, where they're able to deliver information very well, very simply, because they really understand it. It's a part of their lifestyle. And they become incredible teachers, and they have a very enjoyable life. So I think it just gives them those little basics of faith in there is something inherently perfect, whether it's just the geometry of body's construction, whether it's the idea that there is some type of intelligence to how life is put together. And they just begin to that little step forward in that beginning journey of intelligence over power.
Right. That's so absolutely true.
Yeah. So I think, Lisa, did you have a question for Allison?
Yeah. Well, Allison recently started learning martial arts. I wanted to ask her about her experience and how it benefited her. Okay. So, Allison, when did you start taking or learning martial arts?
Thank you, Dr. Lissa. I started learning about 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. When I was little, I always would see martial arts on TV, and I always kind of wanted to, do it myself. And especially I would see, people chopping the wood and whatever, and the Karate Kid and all that. Yeah. So about 5 years ago, I actually saw Liam doing martial arts on the patio at our place, and I was like, oh, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm doing Wing Chun. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so he started teaching me Wing Chun, and it had helped me to kind of rehab. I wasn't in the best health or physical condition. And then so now for about 4 years I've done that, and then now about a year ago I started doing Qigong and Tai Chi, and I really
Xin Yi Chen
and Xin Yi Chen, yes, and I really love I love all those systems, and it's it's for your body and your mind. If your body feels healthy and good and strong, then your mind will be as well, vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. Very true. And we're going to come up to another break here. So we will come back and continue our discussion here on Nourishment for the Spiritual Warrior. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
It's summer in 2017 and it's hot. But when you go to turn on your AC, you find you no longer can. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht, and I'll tell you about the coming smart grid in just a moment.
Your search engine is watching you, recording all your searches and creating a massive database of your personal information. That's creepy, but it doesn't have to be that way. Startpage.com is the world's most private search engine. Startpage doesn't store your IP address, make a record of your searches, or use tracking cookies, and they're third-party certified. If you don't like Big Brother spying on you, start over with Startpage. Great search results and total privacy. Startpage.com, the world's most private search engine.
You've probably heard of smart cars, but have you heard of the smart grid? Stimulus money is being used to fund smart electric meters across the country. Chances are there's already one on the side of your house. Smart meters allow for two-way communication between your home's electric system and the power company. But monitoring your energy consumption today could turn into rationing tomorrow. Already, power companies are running trials where they remotely turn off people's air conditioners during peak hours. Eventually, the smart grid will monitor every time you use the toaster or run the dryer. It'll know when you're home or when you use the guest room. It's all micromanagement, and it's the future, unless we say no. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht. More news and information at catherinealbrecht.com.
About chemtrails.
Live Free Speech Radio, logosradionetwork.com.
This is Nourishment for the Spiritual Warrior back here in Austin, Texas. Also having guests and fellow hosts in Las Vegas in Australia with Dr. Lisa Wampole and David Burke in the studio, Liam Stone and his wonderful wife, Allison. We are having an amazing discussion, a lot of stuff going on, especially in the U.S. now with all the crazy March Madness. And here in Austin, Texas, we have a South by Southwest festival, which seems to be significantly more corporatized this year, especially with the federal government, with President Obama and Michelle speaking. So I know there's a lot of people that have moved recently from California, specifically Los Angeles, to Austin, Texas. Right. I know Dr. Liam Stone and David Burke have some interesting experiences with that Hollywood area and some of the things going on there. Maybe, I guess, give the listeners a little sense of why you're no longer there and choosing maybe more to do business more internationally and here in Austin, Texas.
Absolutely. Dave, do you want to go first? Or
no, you please.
Oh, okay, thanks. I'm originally from Austin and Houston area. In fact, if you go to the Texas State Capitol, you'll see a bronze statue of me as a small child in a baseball cap, as one of 6 children randomly picked to be a tribute to Texas school children. I'm the one that looks like I'm waving. I'm actually trying to salute the flag. I'm like around maybe 10, 11 years old. It's from 6th grade. We had a field trip. Anyway, so I'm originally from here, but for the last, I have a side of the family that has people out there in California. So I went out to LA area on a regular basis, from Texas, to go to Disneyland, which as a kid, that was the most amazing thing. And that's another reason why I have such a martial arts background, because I've trained with a lot of the martial artists and I had, connections with people out there since I was a child in California. So in 2003, the way life had it, I ended up being offered a contract with an agent to be a model and an actor in Hollywood. Now I had modeled before for like fashion modeling, but not like acting, So I went out there and I was very successful. And I think one of the reasons why is because I didn't go out partying like some of the younger actors out there at the time. So this is 2004. And by 2005, and also taught martial arts. So that kind of kept me grounded compared to my peer group that instead of, going and teaching martial arts, what I was doing, they'd go out and try to find dates or go to the nightclubs. I didn't do that. So I think I really attribute my success to that. By 2005, I was on like several shows. Nickelodeon produced show Dance 360. I played a younger version of Richard Gere in a movie called Shall We Dance? I got paid for. The scene got edited out, but I'm a good dancer that had to pretend that I couldn't dance, So, yeah. So anyway,
there's Hollywood for you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's with Jennifer Lopez and Richard Gere. And I was supposed to play like a younger version. Richard Gere is like a 56-year-old guy. So I work with a lot of people like through the Nickelodeon group. Kenan Thompson, who played Fat Albert, who's on Saturday Night Live now. I got to work on one show with him. And anyway, just some of the most wonderful artists that I've known. I really enjoyed it. By 2005, 2006, I was at the level where I was being offered scripts. In fact, the movie that Leo DiCaprio just won, I was offered a script in its architectural role. I was supposed to play that part that he played. He won the Oscar for Best Actor. It was way before it came into what it was. And I was asked to be in a movie Paramount was making called Fallen Sky. I trust I'm not going to get sued for this, but I was supposed to be opposite Lawrence Fishburne and Keira Knightley. And so I had to set aside the summer of, I believe, 2005. Yeah, summer of 2005. I couldn't work because, and then I have a good friend. Also, his name is Kevin Love, great artist, great businessman, great musician, who was slated and agreed to play the part of the coward Ford that shot Jesse James in the back of the head. The Brad Pitt character, Jesse James, was shot in the back of the head by the coward Ford. Well, anyway, long story short, you know how it is. We were supposed to play the parts, and at the last minute, Ben Affleck called in a favor from Brad Pitt and said, my brother Casey wants the role. So Kevin was out of a job for an entire summer, and then I was basically ready to go, but the writer, the director of Fallen Sky, did not want Keira Knightley to play the female lead. I was playing the secondary male lead, like the love interest. That was what I was cast for. And Lawrence Fishburne played kind of like the same kind of character in Matrix, right? And he fought the Paramount. Well, what he didn't understand was Pam Preston, who was at that time the executive producer at Paramount, was really good friends with Keira's mom. And Keira at the time was a minor, underage 18. She was 16 or 18, playing a little older. And therefore, her mom was legally required to be with her on set, which is what Pam Preston and Paramount wanted. Because with a woman who's, a young woman, if they have a boyfriend or dating, it's more trouble. So she's like playing an adult part, but her mom's there. So she's essentially a minor child actor, which was more efficient. Well, guess what? The director of this film wanted Lindsay Lohan. She had just turned 21 or something like that. And he had romantic affections for her. So he fought Paramount, and the Paramount said bye-bye. And so I was out of a job for like that entire summer. So Kevin and I are good friends, and we decided, hey, why don't we just make our own production company? Because this is the time when we were switching from celluloid to digital. And everything now is digital. It's so much cheaper and easier. We don't need the crew. And so we said, what do you want to do? And we both loved Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, the Paul Newman and Robert Redford version from the 60s. And I said, let's do a version of it, a new version, except you play it, meaning Liam. Dr. Liam plays a Sundance Kid, and Kevin's going to play Butch Cassidy, trying to cast to type like actual outlaw pictures of those people. I don't know. Well, it turned out we ended up playing the opposite roles. And so we were ready to film. That's how the movie Venice Nights, Vnice, Nights, Knight, which came into fruition. Now, we got ready to do the movie, and I financed the entire thing. I'm doing the Donald Trump thing, okay? I didn't take money from anyone. I like my creative control when I'm making my movies. Yeah. I'm still that way. Our TV show, Canada Travels Texas, Allison and I are the only financiers. I don't go to Kickstarter or anything like that, because when you get money from someone, you got to do what they say. Mm-hmm. And so I've always believed that. It's just common sense to me, But so I financed the whole thing, and then the actors that were leads have a percentage of we haven't made the profit yet, but we're going to get the profit. And so basically what happened was we decided to shoot this movie. Well, we went to the now defunct Paramount Ranch. By the way, that's one of the reasons a lot of people have left, because the filming is no more because of the regulations, the government regulations. A lot of people have left. Matthew McConaughey left too. A lot of people left. Keanu Reeves is in Texas now too, in Galveston. So anyway, yeah. So we didn't have any money, man. We're like, so we couldn't film at the ranch. They were charging so much money. He said, well, what do we have? Surfboards and wetsuits. So let's just make Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid into surfing instructors. So we had them reincarnated. So it's Butch and Sundance reincarnated as surfing instructors at Venice Beach.
That's hilarious.
It's the wackiest film you'll ever see, and some of the most gifted comedy performances that structure. People think it was improv. It wasn't. We wrote it. And then we would have like dialogue, like 3-4 people talking at the same time where you can actually, now it's done a little more often where you can follow 3 conversations. So that's how the movie came into being. And as to why a lot of people have left, we actually shot our show Candid Travels Texas with South by Southwest 3 years ago. But because it's very corporate and government now, we didn't participate. That's why I get to be here right now. And I'm looking forward to Austin Universe Festival.
Yeah.
Freedom. Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah, just to have a chat also about Hollywood. I was in Los Angeles. I was invited and recruited there to be a filmmaker and coming over from Australia. And, you know, coming from Australia to Los Angeles, I was already in Australia working on different productions, and I got to work at Fox Studios Australia, and I had a mentor in Australia who, a comedy actor that got awards
Coming
on
up
the
to a
Comedy
break, Dave.
Channel.
Hold that thought, Dave. Hi, welcome back to the show. So, David, you were telling your story about your experience going from Australia to Hollywood. Go ahead and finish your story, David.
Yeah, so over in Australia, it was very fun. I got to went to SE College for my filmmaking, and I was an understudy of a well-known comedy actor who won several awards for the Comedy Channel. And so going from Australia, then being recruited to come to Los Angeles and Hollywood, I walked into this, talent agency place that was recruiting me, and I listened to all the people talk in the foyer room, and everyone's just really excited, I guess, to be pursuing their dream. And I was just listening to all these kids talk about going, and adults about going to this audition, go to that audition, and I didn't really want to go to auditions. I wanted to make films. My passion has always been creating things, and I didn't want. I was telling people on the record, I didn't want to be that guy that played an extra on a toothpaste commercial promoting, some type of toothpaste that has a neurotoxin in it that's harmful to people. And I looked at I'm not going to make myself be a part of a commercial or a film that promotes something that causes pain and suffering to other people. And it's not as bad when you don't know how harmful some of these things that are forced down the public's throat through media. But when you have a small understanding, the importance that of media and the importance of how it can influence people, and that you being a part of that is going to affect your life on a spiritual level, on a mental level, on a physical level, you just can't involve yourself in taking advantage of people using media, because you know the effects of that. And it's kind of like the golden rule, treat people like you like to be treated. So for me, I also was being mentored on the corporate side. My mentor from Warner Brothers was Spencer Yu, and he was the vice president of corporate legal affairs at Warner Brothers. So there I got to spend time seeing, the producers come in for Matrix or Lord of the Rings, those type of films, and they would, chat to Spencer, and he would look at drawing up contracts for it. And then we'd go for a walk around the studios, and we would chat to some of the different people who were the stars of the certain shows and those things. And for me, I really enjoyed learning from Spencer the corporate side of how does distribution work? How does financing your film work? How does all the legal protection work for releasing a film? Where can you play your film? Where can you not play your film? Like, some countries come out with rules like, if there's ghosts in your film can't be shown in that country. There's just a lot of bizarre little things. But then also you have the political agendas. And there's a book that people can take a bit of a look at, and it's called The CIA in Hollywood, and it's actually at the University of Texas Press.
Yes.
And it's written by Tricia Jenkins. And it just goes into, how much government involvement there is. And Spencer, wonderful person, he was actually from Texas. And he went to Los Angeles to be a corporate attorney. And unfortunately, he passed away several years ago. And so I can kind of talk at a little bit about, some of the goings-ons, which I know he would be like, don't talk about that. Like,
I think we're safe here, right? Are we safe?
Yeah.
In Brave New Club, I feel very safe.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but every year they would have these huge corporate meetings where the government, the federal government, would come down and say, hey, we have these particular political motives, and it's your job to make films that influence the public to agree with these political motives that they want. And, you can, here's an example here in December 5th, 2001, the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences convened a panel entitled Hollywood Goes to War. And this was all in responses of what to do after 9/11. And at the meeting was the president of NBC Entertainment and Aaron Sorkin, creator and writer of the White House drama The West Wing. And within 10 days of meeting with the federal government, according to this article on globalresearch.ca on Hollywood, within just 10 days, the episode was completed and the show was moved into production and they had the first episode completed. So that's how fast of an influence big federal government has on what you're going to be watching on TV. And when we look at TV ratings, the TV ratings are actually so low, incredibly low for regular TV because, people begin to very quickly understand if a show has that internal truth to it. So I know Ryan, like Alex Jones has on his show, millions of listeners. And then you look at, maybe a couple 100,000 on some of these mainstream shows. And you can't afford as a show producer to only have, if you're doing a national show, a couple 100,000 listeners to your show. And then, who's paying for that show? Like, one of the things was great I learned in the corporate part of filmmaking was, and like Dr. Liam understands, he put up the money himself to make the film.
Right.
And all these independent filmmakers, that's what they do. They put the money up themselves to make the film. And that's one thing you learn in Hollywood is if you don't have a piece of the action, you're not going to be in the movie. And people, it's just like a game of poker. People are putting their money at risk. And then you've got to look at distribution. And unfortunately, most of the theaters are controlled by corporate interests because they roll out these big movies. And you might have an opportunity that if some of these big movies are delayed to be able to buy cheap distribution. I know I heard of actually Spencer talk about Chuck Norris in Los Angeles and how he went to each individual on a film that he made. I think it was maybe his second mainstream film, but he went to the theaters and he actually paid the theaters to put the film into the movie theaters because movie theaters actually make more money from the beverages and food sales.
Sure.
According to my friend that once
it's true.
owned
It's true. I worked at a movie
theaters.
theater. It was Good Guys Wear Black. The second film was called Good Guys Wear Black.
Okay.
That's the movie. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I wanted to agree with you. Yeah. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So
Actually, how much money you make on that? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The theaters are actually very excited that if you're willing to put the movie into their independent theater for free, and you'll get a piece of the ticket sale. So you might get 90%, you might get 50%. They work it out, or sometimes you can just pay and hire up the theater. So a lot of these independent producers, that's what they're doing. They're just paying for the theater space. And according to Spencer, Chuck Norris absolutely killed it on this little film for the amount of money that was invested. And whether the story is true, but the legend of the story was that he was coming from the theaters with garbage bags full of money from the sales because it's Friday night, it's Saturday, it's Wednesday night.
It sounds like a classic.
No, but it's true. I heard it from the horse's mouth at the prayer meeting when he spoke up. It's true. It's not a legend.
That's not just the Chuck Norris legend. I love the one you just posted recently. Like Chuck Norris walked into a maze.
Facts, yeah.
Chuck Norris walked into a maze and the maze got lost.
Yeah, but this is true. He had so much cash, he had to get garbage bags. That's how profitable it was.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's one of him and Sylvester Stallone are the first two guys that were doing that type of thing. But
same thing with Sylvester Stallone. This is, according to Spencer, and this is actually kind of really fun because most people in Los Angeles were there to be discovered. And I'm like,
right.
Well, I kind of feel like we're all inherently perfect and we all have this brilliance about us, humanity does.
Agreed.
And we don't need to be discovered, we're already here. So let's just communicate.
My professional opinion, as a theologian, that is true. I'm a doctor of divinity, and I am saying that is true. Okay, sorry, keep going. I love it.
Yeah, so our job was just to communicate the incredible aspects of humanity. You look on YouTube and you look at humans are amazing, and it has millions and millions of views. And because humans are amazing, and so Spencer told me about Sylvester Stallone, and he said this guy he couldn't get a job in filmmaking. He didn't have the right connections, he didn't have the right people, and so no one really wanted to give him a job. So within I think it was 2 days, he wrote this script called Rocky, right. And the studio said, okay, the script's okay, let us buy it from you because in the corporate world of filmmaking, they just want to a lot of times buy the script because they find filmmakers, artists, maybe temperamental later on, just difficult to deal with. So they have their own people. Right. But the Sylvester Stallone guy really wanted apparently to make this film.
And so Rocky. They wanted Robert Redford. The studios wanted Robert Redford, and they said, "Well, we'll make the movie if you let Robert Redford play." And he said no.
Wow.
So yeah.
David, my understanding was he raised the money independently, and did it himself and put himself in there, and and he succeeded, showing the moral struggle and just the general struggles that people may archetypally have in that movie, and he got across a fun independent film, and he did extremely well out of it, financially, and has gone on to have the ability to show people he can, get movies out there. Another guy, Andy Vanya, he actually was the guy who started the Terminator movies. And he has a unique relationship with Warner Brothers, talking with Spencer as an independent. And I got to spend time with Andy in Los Angeles, also just talking about how they distribute films. And they actually pay a lot of their own money goes into distributing, and they pay a lot of their own money to make their films. Right. So, Andy has the ability to put people in the film that he trusts, that he thinks can do a good job. But at the end of the day, you're putting a product into the marketplace. And so people are very, very surprised how the first Terminator movies did. And he was very smart in, he had his own money in it. So he did do very well out of the movie. He had his horror stories and the corporate studio guys
coming up to the end of the show here, Dave.
And where they actually don't make any money at all from the show.
Thanks for joining us.